So I'm just going to ask our speakers to introduce themselves a little bit, and then we'll get into the kind of full discussion in a sec.
Hi everyone, I'm Shanea. I'm supporting the Forefront project. I'm from Newham. I'm also currently building my own project right now. And I'm a youth mentor, and I'm just doing my bit to play a part in the solution to sort of solving youth violence.
Hi everyone, my name is Chris, and I just play my part in the Forefront project as well.
Hi everyone, my name is Temi. I set up the Forefront project 7 years ago. We are a youth organisation and we support young people who've been affected by serious violence. We deliver a range of programmes that focus on personal development, legal empowerment and social action. Our mission is to empower young people and build peace, and we work within the criminal justice system, the education system, but most importantly, we're embedded in communities.
Hi everyone, my name is Lawan, and I just work at Forefront, to be honest.
Hi everyone, my name is Kadeem. I got involved in normal exclusions after being personally affected throughout my life. I also work with another charity called Stopwatch, and I'm on a violent crime prevention board to deal with the issues that we're currently facing.
Hello everyone. Wow, this is loud. My name is Zahra, and I'm a teacher, and I'm one of the founding members of No More Exclusions.
Hello? Yeah. Okay, so our speakers are now going to talk a little bit more about the work that they do. Is this mic slightly dodgy? No? Okay, sorry. They're going to talk a bit more about the work that they do. They're going to talk about some of the kind of the causes of youth violence, what they do in their day-to-day work, and a lot about the solutions, what government and Labour are currently doing wrong, and also how everybody in this room can be part of those solutions. So it's a broad range of stuff that we're going to discuss, and let's get into it.
So across the last 2 years, I took it upon myself to start educating myself on this violence that we're seeing today. I know it's not a new thing, it's been going on for decades, but I knew that my friends were involved in some serious violence. I've been affected by some serious violence, and I wanted to know why. I wanted to know why this is happening and what I can do to be a part of the solution. So I lost my friend in 2017. That experience, that traumatic experience paired with actually being on the scene last year with a young boy after he'd been stabbed outside my house, those two experiences paired together made me commit to wanting to be a part of the solution. So I got in touch with Temi and the Forefront Project, so many other community organisations that are doing similar things that I want to do. And yeah, so that's a bit about my story. The causes of this violence, I'm going to just relate it to my experiences. I feel like a lot of my friends don't have the right support. They don't have the right emotional support, behavioural support, academic support. A lot of my friends struggled growing up within the education system and out of the education system. I felt like they didn't have hope for their futures. I feel like they had a lack of opportunity. I feel like they didn't have the right role models, the right leaders to actually guide them and show them the way. On top of the financial pressures and everything else that they was facing, with the bad experiences that they had with the police, there were so many different things that they were experiencing, but no one was even reaching out to them. No one was there to support them. No one was there to say, okay, this is the help that you need. Some of my friends had been stabbed 2, 3, 4 times. Even me, I've lost so many different friends, but we're not receiving the right help. We're not receiving the right mental health help, the right trauma support. So yeah, there's so many different causes of this violence, but I feel like for me personally, the biggest thing the biggest part that I wanted to play was being a mentor and being someone that young people could look to and say, okay, I've got you, I'm someone stable in their life, someone that can guide them, that can give them opportunities, and that's what I aim to do with the project that I'm building as well and everything else that I'm doing. I feel like the government right now, see, I'm a young person and I feel like I do have quite a strong voice, but even platforms like this, it was through the Forefront Project, and I feel there's so many young people like me that have a voice, they know what we need, young people with real lived experiences, and we know what we need, but I feel like the government ain't hearing us. I've never had a conversation with an MP. No one's ever asked me what I need or what my friends need. No one's ever asked me that. So it's like, I feel like the government now need to be reaching out to young people with real lived experiences, people, especially people like me that want to make a change. I've already made the commitment to dedicate my whole life to this. I want to make a change in my community, but it's like, what are the government doing to make sure that there's a proper platform for young people like me to actually have a voice, have the right investment, have the right support network to actually build something for my community? I also feel like, because this conversation is based around like drill music and stuff like that, a lot of my friends make drill music, a lot of my friends see it as one of the only ways to make it out of the hood, to be successful. A lot of them haven't had the right support from the education system, they've been chucked out of school, they don't see any other tangible options for their lives, so they want to make drill music. Some of my friends, Jay Huss, he's from Stratford, I'd say he's a millionaire now, I don't know, he's making a lot of money, and but he's making a lot, I wouldn't even say he's a drill artist, but some of his music has been blocked for his violent lyrics. But it's like young people from my community don't have opportunity. So I don't really like the way that our music has been demonized, it's been criminalized, because me personally, I just see it as a form of expression, I see it as an art, I see it as something that should be looked at as a cry for help in a sense. I feel like if young people are rapping and singing about their violent realities, instead of criminalizing it, we should be looking at it and thinking, okay, that's what you're going through and that's your reality, how can we stop that? How can we prevent that? How can we support you in that? But instead they're just being criminalized, blocked and shut down. So yeah, for the young people, for everyone else in the room that wants to be a part of the solution, I just say invest in your young people, support a young person. Temmie's my mentor, and like she done that. Even this opportunity, it was through Temmie. It's like invest in your young people, give your young people opportunities. It doesn't have to be through money all the time. Sometimes it's just being there, and that's what I've done. Even on top of my A-levels, I was just mentoring the young boys in my behaviour inclusion unit, and I was just there for them, just letting them know that I'm here. If you ever need to talk to me, it can be something as small as that. So yeah, that's my message.
Alright, cool. So basically, my name's Chris. I'm from North London, and my role in the Forefront Project is just to help be the voice, more or less be the voice of the streets, more or less, because there's a lot of things that young people like myself, we go through on a day-to-day basis, which I think that could be understood a lot better by Parliament and people of higher classes. So I thought that in the Forefront Project, as a young person, I feel like it's important to get our voices out there and to be heard for everything just that could help improve our lives. Like, there's just a lot that goes on, and I think the support network that we have as young people is not as adequate. I feel like it could be improved in many other ways. I feel like the government and people in Parliament, they don't see what I see or my friends see on a day-to-day basis. So what I do in the Forefront Project is just help projecting the voices of myself and the voices of every other young person that's out there.
So we have a lot to cover here today. I'm not going to go into the foundations and bases because I think Shanea just summed it up so beautifully and eloquently herself. I think that we've come to discuss drill music in particular, and like Shanea says, I would echo that I really do think it's a cry for help, but I also see so much energy and positivity in the fact that young people feel like maybe for the first time in this generation they have an opportunity where they can make something of themselves, and this is a pathway that they see to be able to do that. And speaking from experience, working on the same estate that I personally grew up on, music has played such an important role in the dynamic of the estate, because we have a number of young people that have come through, that have put their music up online, that are getting millions of views, that are getting legitimate opportunities, that are getting played on the radio, that get invited to shows. And then these are the same young people that at every single point are just being blocked, and so many barriers and obstacles are being put in their way. For example, I was asked to be a witness in the case where a young person I was supporting was about to be banned, geographically banned through a gang injunction from entering a geographical area that includes our estate, it includes our premises, our office, and he was basically being blocked from accessing our support. This is a young man who himself has been victim of serious violence and who needs our intensive one-to-one support, emotional support to help him to cope with that. But this was something that the court didn't want to take into consideration. The reason why I bring this up is because in their assertions that this was a gang member, they have used a number of music videos that he had made and put online to say that this is proof that you are involved in a gang. Interestingly enough, when I was advocating on his behalf, I explained to the court that, you know, he has had a series of legitimate opportunities through this music, and if they actually block him, they had a long list of people that he was being banned from associating with, that those associations he would not be able to be seen in public with about 20 other young people for the next 5 years if this went through and was approved. Out of that list, there were 3 other young people on the list who were part of his rapping group, and I explained to the court that if they banned him from being part of that group, they would block all of their legitimate opportunities and they would block them from a legal source of income, which would inevitably push them in the direction where they would have to use illicit means to gain money, which obviously that's not what the court wants, it's not what the police wants, it's not what anybody wants, so it's not really in anyone's best interest to do that. Eventually, what I thought was really interesting and ironic, which is why I bring it up, is that the court made the order, they banned him from the estate, they banned him from the list of people, except for the other 3 young people who were part of his group. The reason why I mention that is because they were willing to take into consideration the fact that it is a legitimate opportunity, and therefore they were willing to allow them to continue making music. But they used that same music to justify imposing a criminal order against him that had so many other ramifications, blocking him from attending, you know, the place where his mother lives or various other family members, preventing him from accessing his college, which is within that geographical area, preventing him from accessing housing, which he had received a tenancy in that geographical area, which was then ripped up, and then he was placed in a placement far away from everybody that he knew. And I think the interesting thing for me was that it's a catch-22. On the one hand, they were willing to accept it, but they were still willing to impose such intrusive measures which would never be placed on other people. And to summarize, I would say that this is one case, one example of where something that you may read in the paper, gang members, you know, gang crime, gang war, you might see it all the time and never really question it. But the reality is there's very little transparency or accountability in terms of who, you know, gets to label people as gang members, how that process happens, and then there's very little scrutiny or oversight in terms of what are the ramifications for people that are then labelled. And ultimately, we have a separate criminal justice system, a system that only applies to certain individuals that have been labelled. And when you want to look at the statistics that will show us that almost 80% of the Metropolitan Police gang matrix database are young people who are identified as black or other ethnic minority groups, we know that this separate criminal justice procedure only applies to some people. Therefore, it's discrimination by the back door, and it's something that must be taken up by yourselves urgently, because ultimately, as an oppressed community, as marginalized people, it's very difficult for us to stand here and say, you know, this is something that's impacting our everyday life, and it doesn't actually work. There's a lot of young people who end up on the gang database simply because they themselves have been a victim of serious violence. There are people who end up on the gang database who have never committed a crime. I work with a lot of young people, one young man in particular, whose first criminal offence was the criminal behaviour order that was made against him, based on a civil penalty, a community penalty notice, which is essentially like antisocial behaviour, saying you've been seen loitering on the estate, the police are now putting this community penalty notice in place, and if you breach it, it becomes a criminal offence. Do you understand that process of criminalisation? We're criminalising young people when they assemble in groups. If it's young black people and they're in a group, immediately it must be a gang. And then any type of creative expression that derives from this group of young people is also criminalized in the same way. Don't tell me that music is responsible for people's actions when we have so many other genres that talk about some very interesting and not very nice things, whether it's suicide, whether it's sexual violence, whether it's other kinds of violence, but when it's other communities, it's not criminalized in the same way. But historically, when it's urban, well, what's classed as urban, but music of black origin will be policed in a completely different way. And the point I want to make is, although we are aware that there are difficult things that are spoken about in the genre of drill music in particular, like Shanea said, people are crying out for help, people aren't accessing support to deal with their trauma, and this musical expression is an avenue for people to do that, and on top of that, it's an opportunity for them to make something better of their lives. And I think the real accountability should be, there's a variety of places it should be laid, but it should be laid also at the music industry that promotes and glamorizes this type of music to the point where it tells young people that unless they talk about certain things, they're not going to make it. I know a lot of young people that don't want to say the things they're saying in their music, but they feel like that's the only option they have if they're going to get played on the radio, which is a very bizarre state of affairs. So it's a very complicated situation, but I think a group of people that I assume would probably believe in freedom of speech, it's not necessarily hate speech, and I think we see a lot of hate speech that is being protected, that shouldn't be protected in our society. You know, I don't want to voice certain names. I don't want to have to give them the extra energy or attention that I don't think they deserve, so I'm not going to say their names, but we can all think of a few examples that are given national platforms to spew a lot of hatred that does incite violence. And then when it comes to young people that actually have experienced lived violence and speak about that in their music, we're sending them to prison for song lyrics. For the first time that's actually happened, I think it's tragic, but I think it's absurd, and I also think that I call out to you as people in this room that may not be directly impacted by this issue, but you can impact this issue by standing against those kind of procedures, especially the censorship and the criminalisation of our young people. Thank you.
Well, hi everyone, my name is Lawan. I'm from Northwest London. Obviously, I work at Forefront, also I do music as well. And how do I explain it? I don't really think it's right. They ban drill music and then so they get to like, what did that Prince guy do? What did he do the other day? He ran over someone, the guy's not arrested. That was me, I'd have been in jail by now, you get what I'm saying? So stuff like that's unfair. I don't see how he can do that, not get arrested, not go to court for it, but I can do something, I'm going to jail for it, or you get what I'm saying? But like one of my friend's videos as well now, he got a couple million and obviously he went jail, and the police from the borough have tried to basically just pinpoint him, yeah, you've done this and that because of the video, and I don't know, I would say they don't want him to succeed because like where I'm from, a lot of people dying right now anyway, so for people to be, my friend to be doing music, he's really trying to do something constructive, and obviously people don't want that to happen, and like, I don't know what I want to say, to be honest, like cool. If I was making music right now at this moment in time and they took it down, I feel angered. I don't know, I feel upset because I don't like, if the government really wanted to put up anything on YouTube, they can. No one can't take it down. But if I was, or anybody in this room would get taken down. So I don't get how they've just got one choice and this and that, and the government see us as a gang. When police come to a state, they come running, jumping out, happy. Like, I don't know, like, some of them, I understand you're doing your job, but some of them, like, cheeky as well, you know what I'm saying? So, like, you get me? I don't know personally, anyway. You see, the MP was supposed to be here. Does he really care about us? You get it? He's just here. Feel me? No one really cares about us. We're all here because we care. And like, I don't know what to say, to be honest.
Yeah, my name's Kadeem. I'm 24. So the violence that's taking place on the streets right now, I went to school in Peckham through 2006 and 2011, so that was another period of serious youth violence. And funnily enough, I was classified as a vulnerable person due to having special educational needs and other issues that I'm not going to address right now. But onto policing, I do feel that police play a massive role in obviously how you view yourself and how you look at yourself moving forward. A stop and search encounter is the easiest way to get criminalised as a black person, and I feel like it can happen anywhere. You're not really safe anywhere, and it kind of ties into a personal experience that I had. Obviously, I was attacked outside my address by undercover police officers, and obviously when you're talking about cheeky police officers and all these type of things, they can be cheeky, but it has to be lawful. But now when you're dealing with a criminal justice system that basically gives the okay for you to be disregarded and treated like an animal, face other problems and other issues. But that experience led me to want to do something in the community. I always had a necessity to kind of get involved from personal experiences. Having a statement of special educational needs from 2003, how it's affected my mum and all my family. I always wanted to do something regardless. So that experience kind of just pushed me forward. I got involved quickly with Stopwatch, and in fact, I contacted Temi on Twitter and I spoke to her, and she actually forwarded me to Stopwatch, or recommended them, but I had already contacted them, but it was a good recommendation. And from that, I started doing a lot of study and reading into obviously the statistics around the gang matrix. I started reading everything, Colour of Injustice. There's a few things that I could probably name, and I'll make a list of them afterwards, but there's a lot of good material for anyone that wants to actually fully understand what's going on. And getting away from like the gang matrix and those kind of things is a systemic issue. Like I said, it started for me in school. I'm 24 now, so I appreciate it very much that it's being spoken about now, but I need to know where the help for me is going to come from. Obviously, I'm volunteering right now. I've been volunteering for 6 months. I'm in 3 separate charities and on a violent crime prevention board as well. But obviously it's not dealing with the issue that keeps popping up every day. Keep hearing about public health approach and all these other things, early intervention, early prevention. I've been through that, one-to-one mentoring, all that stuff. I've been through that. It's getting tiring talking about it because nothing's actually getting done. But I want to carry on writing my poetry. I want to carry on going on the news because I've been trying to get my story out and basically highlight a deeper issue into institutional racism, which is very evident and clear. I actually got beaten up by an undercover police officer who was black, so you know, he didn't have to show me his ID, he didn't have to tell me his name, he didn't have to tell me his station, and that in effect makes it not a lawful search. But it was made lawful somehow, obviously, but I'm just raising awareness on the other issues that we're facing as young people and people trying to make a difference in the community.
First of all, thank you very much, Becca, for inviting me to this panel, and to everyone who's organised it. And I feel really privileged to be on this panel because, it's a youth panel, right? And I almost feel like I shouldn't be sitting here. I should be sitting somewhere there. probably part of the problem more than the solution, I think. Even though, as a teacher, you know, and I've been in teaching 20 years, and as a parent, you think you're helping. A lot of the time, you're actually colluding with oppressive systems and structures and policies and processes and laws. So the first thing I want to say, as a 43-year-old recovering teacher, was being miseducated by two colonial systems, the Italian and the British one. Please forgive me for any misfailings, and I'm trying. One of the things that we're trying to do through No More Exclusions is to look at how school exclusions impact people's lives, and not just education, and turn young people into essentially educational failures, but also, you know, interconnected to all the other things that have been mentioned. And I don't think I can do better than the young people that have spoken before me, including Temi, because you're younger than me, so I'm going to put you in the young person category, right? It's been said, but what I've seen, so as a teacher, 8 years in mainstreaming, 11 years in a pupil referral unit in East London, I have seen time and again, and this is where I feel that I did collude and I was complicit, time and again I would see 90% of the young people coming through as being boys. All of them put straight away on the special educational needs and disability register without their permission or consent or knowledge. Even if they were just guilty of a one-off offence in mainstream, they'd be going on that register automatically in order for the Peru to access funding, which I think is a great injustice and people need to be aware of it. That becomes a label, right? And we know that labels stigmatise and they are carried forward, they go with you. The majority were Black or Asian, and all of them on free school meals, which means they're, you know, deprived, economically deprived. So how do we connect that with music? At the Peru, which is run like a prison, really. Young people are followed to the toilet. They are not allowed fresh air. Apparently now they do, now that I've left. But while I was there for the 11 years, we never allowed them out to play. So they'd be there between 9 and 3 and never go outside. They would have cameras everywhere. They'd be wanted and searched on entry. Very reduced curriculum, broken laptops, and so on and so forth. That was the educational diet given to these young people. And then if anybody in this room thinks that that is not clear evidence we were preparing them for prison, please, we were. 61% of young people that go through Peru end up in the criminal justice system and in prison. 61%. 88% of young men and 74% of young women, according to Ministry of Justice, have had some experience of school exclusion. So I don't know if you need any stronger evidence than that there's a strong link between, you know, what are we condemning young people when we cast them onto the scrap heap of education. Like, we really need to think about it. Most young people are not being excluded for violent acts. That's bullshit. If anybody thinks that, or rape, like I keep getting asked by the same people on Twitter, oh, you wanna, you know, what are we gonna do with the rapists? The majority of young people that are getting excluded, children are getting excluded, people like Kadeem, who was excluded, at the age of what?
7. I was 7.
It's down to undiagnosed or misdiagnosed special educational needs, literacy. A lot of the time young people don't know how to express what they're feeling or what they need. Even adults don't know how to express what they want and what they need sometimes. But somehow we don't have any empathy for young people. And then there are particular groups and research shows. If anybody wants the references, please come and see me after, because I'm also a researcher. And I can give you references. I love people who like to read. The research shows time and time again the institutional racist stream that runs right through this, that explains the race disparity, that you know, for example, black children are 3 times more likely to be excluded. And this is historically so. We've got Bernard Core that's brought about in 1971, so it's not a new thing. You know, austerity's made it worse. Schools are defunded and on their knees, but it's a trend that's been going on for some time. Race is disabled and disability is racialized. I could go on, but I won't.
Thank you so much for that incredible introduction, everybody. We've now been joined by Drillminister. If it's all right with you, just before you speak, I would like to show the audience a little bit of what you do. So we have political drilling, the video, which I'm told is going to play and all of you are going to be able to see it, and I don't know how that's going to work. But so yeah, that's just some of what Drillminister does. I'm going to let him talk now, but just a little bit of thinking about what we consider to be violent speech and the people that we consider to be violent. I work sometimes in prison with young people, and one of them said to me once, "I wonder if drill music made me hurt someone else, I want to know what Theresa May was listening to when she decided to bomb Syria." So.
First, I want to say sorry, I was late. Black people timing and that. That's the easy cop out. Now, drill music is just an expression, just like any other music you grew up to. Obviously, it's attached to black people, so it's gonna get stained, it's gonna get blamed, it's gonna have names on it. The same way that I guess when a majority of the audience was younger, you was probably listening to Tupac or something. I'm sure that music wasn't received very well as well at the time, but now he's a legend. So it's time that is the teacher, time is the healer. So I think with drill music, what a lot of people are forgetting is people like to concentrate on the content of what's being said, but they forget to realize why the content is the way it is. Because I always say when they ask me on the news or they ask me anywhere, if you took a majority of the people from the drill scene or anybody from that exact background and you done some scheme and put them in Cambridge and Oxford, I'm sure they wouldn't be rapping about the same things. They'd be rapping about rainbows and whatever they do over there. But that's not what it is in Brixton. That's not what it is in Clapham. That's not what it is in Tottenham. That's not what's actually going on. The police are coming around with bully van. They're stopping and searching you wherever they want to do. It doesn't matter if your dad's wearing a tracksuit and they think he's a gang member as well. He just might be on the way to the gym, but who knows? But that is what it is, and that's what it's always been. It doesn't matter if it's now, it doesn't matter if it's 2002, it doesn't matter if it's 1992. This isn't something new for people of colour or people that are from this background. This is not nothing new. It's not going to change in 2048. It's going to be exactly the same. But the one difference that we can make is to change the youth. The 2-year-old right now isn't the 28-year-old or the 42-year-old. The 2-year-old right now doesn't understand colour. The 2-year-old right now doesn't understand what is prejudice and what isn't prejudice. If you implement right now onto the youth, the next generation, and try to implement all of these views that everybody has right now, the next judge, that whether he's white or black, will be fair. The next chief of commissioner of police might have grown up in drill and will be fair. But right now, as it stands, you got people that grew up on, I don't know, Wham and them type of things there. And them man, they're not fucking with man's thing. To be fair, they're not really messing with man's thing. I'm trying to make the change, but I'm just one person. It's gonna take every single person in the country to be inspired to do more than what I'm doing. And then when there's like 100 of me, then people will probably say, oh, you know what, Drill's not that bad, maybe we should give it a Grammy now, and then maybe give some Stormzy accolades and stuff like that. But for now, it's not going to get that. You're going to just call it the dirt, the grime. You're going to say this is where the robbers are. I went to Sky News 2 days ago to do an interview. When I was going there, security, everything was calm. Obviously, I'm badded up, but when I've got inside, I've got every right to be there. I'm wearing the pass, everything. 4 security came up to me and said, yeah, we're coming up to you because you look suspicious. I said, I'm wearing a balaclava. That's not, what's new? Of course I look suspicious. But I'm going to do a job. Obviously, your security at the gate wouldn't have let me pass if I wasn't here to do a job. What have I come to do? Like rob Sky's Wi-Fi? What have I come to do? It don't make no sense what man's saying, but it did make sense at the time for me to realize, do you know what? I'm not here to win. They haven't put me in a position to win. Even if I do get my message out, it's always going to be turned against my own people.
and used as me as a puppet to make people look stupid or whatever it may be. But that's not man's aim. Man's aim is just to get the truth out, make sure that the truth always gets out there, no matter how I deliver it, no matter if you don't like it, if you do like it, it doesn't really matter, as long as the message gets out there. When I was on the Sky News, I'm interviewing, talking about, my new song's about air pollution and how we need to be looking after climate change. That's nothing to do with the natural things that I talk about, like what this discussion's about right now in drill. The guy asked me while I was standing up there, so the ecosystem, that's amazing, Drilly. So is that a stat-proof vest you're wearing? What has a stat-proof vest got to do with the ecosystem, cuz? This ain't even a stat-proof vest. Like, if a man stabbed me right now, my spleen's everywhere. This is literally just a gilet, but it's a stylish gilet. A man said, I'm wearing a stab-proof vest. I'm a 50 cent cuz. I've come up here to talk about the ecosystem. But because you want to put me in a box, you want to say, you know what, drill, knife, all them things are attached to you. I can't end this interview without mentioning the knife. So somehow I've got to just slip the knife in. Is that stab-proof vest? I said, no, it's not a stab-proof vest, cuz I got it from your wardrobe still. So when man heard that, he knew, raw, you know what, this guy's snappy, I shouldn't go there with him, because you don't need to go there with me. And I'm not here to play games. I'm not here to win nobody over. I'm not here for nobody's political vote. People want to vote for me when I do the London mayor election. That's up to you. If you don't want to, fuck off. The reality of it is that it's right now in this time when the country is going to shit that more of this needs to be happening. Yes. That more people need to be getting together, and people really need to be asking themselves, who have we been letting run us for all these years, and what structure is this that we've been living by, and why does it work like this? It doesn't make sense. Like, we need to, obviously it's easier said than done to tear down every system, and you can't tear down every system, but what we can do is we can put inquests into every system. The law system's obviously fucked. It is not right. Because you've got somebody out there, I don't know, you've got a man going, stealing a basmati rice, maybe in the riots or something. My man's still rotting in jail. You got a man that's raped somebody, my man's walking on road right now. You got somebody that's paedophile, the 2-year-old, man's walking on road right now. But if I steal a basmati rice with my belly on, I'm probably going to do more time than those brothers. So how is that law system? It's not working. It ain't working for nobody. But we've never asked to question it, because that's how things are. In America, like my brother was telling me last night, we had a mad talk, he's telling me about the constitution thing of America. Obviously we don't have one over here. It's built off of philosophy, it's built off of all of this, you can't really change it. We've got space to change what we've got over here, but we're not trying to change it. We're saying, yeah man, what happened with King Henry VIII, that thing's still running till now. How's that running till now? That's not running till now. That was for them times, that's not for now. And then when they're talking about stabbings and violence erupting and people not understanding where it's coming from and what's going on, has anyone ever, as a parent, said, you know what, let me take my child's phone and see what's on there for a day? No, you haven't. So you don't know what's going on the roads. All you know is that the majority of the time, this is a scary thing for parents as well. They fail to realize you send your youth to school, and when you send your youth to school, your youth leaves at 9 o'clock. When he comes home, it's 5 o'clock. He watches cartoons for 2 hours. He has a family meal at about 8 o'clock and you send him to bed for 9. He's chilled with you for 3 hours. You don't know your child. It's impossible. Yeah. If you chill with your child for 3 hours every single day, add them hours up. How many hours did he spend with the teacher? How many hours did he spend with you? So what is the teacher putting in his head and what are you putting in his head? It's two different things. And that goes for what happens on the way to school and the way home from school. The way home from school is going to interact with other people that you also don't know. And that is going to also further his life and then make him have his own decisions and ideologies of what's going on. And I don't think people like to realize that. People don't realize that, well, maybe when you lot was in school, like if your friend bought in a porno mag, you was getting excited. That's not what's going on. Man are watching XXX.com at 13 in the playground. It's a different day, cuz. You can't hide things from kids. If you're going to see Kim Kardashian's pussy out today, they're going to see it tomorrow. You can't hide from them things. This is what it is. And this is the reality, and people don't like to face the reality, but the reality is there, right in your face. The stabbings, the multiple violence, everything is exactly what they're seeing when they turn on Big Brother. Do we not wait for people to start fighting on Big Brother? Oh, you got a bit tense. Because this is what society is built on. You build up these things, you put it in the papers, you show war, you show these things, and then you expect people not to go out and do mad things. And this is what Britain doesn't want to admit to. You do the mad thing, and then when your children do the mad thing, you want to say act shock and horror. Well, shock and horror of what? The first violence I ever saw was Grant and Phil. You see what I'm trying to say? And their man was the real bad boys. I'm still trying to be like Grant and Phil to this day. So that's what I don't understand. We are all accustomed to this. I don't know. It's a new level of violence that's going on the streets right now. The deaths is crazy. There's a lot of parents that are suffering right now. There's a lot of madness going on the roads. But if you want to curb it, then put things and initiatives in place to give people a future. And when I say give people a future, I don't mean let's start building some new studios for the kids. Not everybody wants to flip and be a rapper, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry that we don't get to hear more from all of our speakers because they have a huge amount of knowledge and things to say, but I thought that we would open it up to the floor. If I could see people with the lighting change. There you go. Magic. So do we have any questions? We're going to do it the system where we take 3 questions from the floor at a time, put them to the panel. Please, when you give a question, if you want somebody, if it's for someone specific, make sure you say that so that we can get the right person to answer your question. If it's for the whole panel, then you don't have to name anybody. Okay, so I can see that I have 2 in the front, just here. We've got the roaming mic. There we go. 2 in the front, and then this person in the white t-shirt here with the hand up tool. Yeah. So we'll do these 3.
Yeah, thanks for the talk. So it's a simple question, maybe to the older generation. Just explain, as in me. Just for the older generation, you talk a lot about what's happening in the street, but just tell us what is happening in the street. What's the cause of all this violence? Because when I was young, the worst we expected to get was a kick in the head for being black, but now everyone's going around stabbing themselves. So what's different now, and what's causing this extreme violence? Why are young people so angry?
Okay, thank you for that question. This question here.
Hi, this is for Julian. I'm not really an artist, but I make drill music, like sort of like political drill music as well. Because when I saw you did that, I always wanted to do it, but I never felt the urge to do it. So I do like sort of like left wing, like socialist sort of drill music, innit? So so what I was thinking is I was wanting to ask you, like, is there any advice for like putting my music out? Like, my main goal is not to be an artist. I actually want to be an MP, which is funny. But I like to do music on the side. But I was thinking, is there any like, advice for like putting my music out so the right people can hear it? And also, I really appreciate what you guys do. I admire you guys, bears. So love.
Thank you. And last question for this round, yeah?
Yeah, thanks for the mic. There's a lot of thoughts going on, so I'm trying to like refine what the question actually might be. But I want to make a statement that I know is true for me. It's a deep thing. I'm a spiritual person. I've meditated for 10 years. And I've also taken a lot of sacred medicine, ayahuasca, things like that. And it's basically to deconstruct the ego, the mind, the amount of conditioning and programming we've all had. It's been a psychological operation on humanity. And I've got so much respect for all you guys up there because I'm white. I'm privileged in a sense. I've got your back. I'm an MC too. I'm a drum bass MC, and I'm about to release some music as a very conscious message. I'm awoke. I understand the level of deceit and evil that you have been the hands of. And people need to really wake up, and it's not like a judgment on anyone, because the level of programming that we've all been under duress of, you've all just basically said first-hand experience of it. Like, who is behind the veil? Why would a government who's supposed to care about its people have these things happening to its own people? Has anyone ever asked that question?
Okay, thank you so much. I'm sorry you're the
I'm
interested
just trying to
I have to
say,
stop you.
I've got bare love for everyone there. Thank you.
Lovely. Okay. Yeah, we'll do 3 and then we'll do another round in a sec. Okay, so is there anyone that would like to take that first question? Do you guys have a mic?
I want to address you first, and then I'm going to give... Yeah, and you can. I think this frame that comes often from the older generation, saying, you know, what is wrong with young people today? Why is there so much violence? As if to say the globe hasn't been violent in its entirety of history. There's always been violence across every society and civilization in our times. And actually, if you look historically, we know that days today are less violent than they were historically. I think the reason I have such a problem with the way that was framed is because there's something that's very blameworthy and judgmental when it's thrusted onto young people. Children do not come out of their mother's wombs carrying machetes. So what happens in the first 13 years of their life to make them feel like that's something that they have to do at that time? And I think they are blank canvases when they are born. Society writes on them and helps them to understand the world. And then they, through their own eyes, understand how to navigate within it. And the reality is, for a lot of young people, the world that they start to understand in childhood is a very harsh one. So it's a reality where, for many young people that have been impacted by violence, you know, in their teenage years, they've experienced domestic violence in their home. They might have experienced sexual violence. They're witnessing and experiencing community violence every day they step outside of their door. The first time I saw, you know, heroin needles on the floor, I was like 6 on my estate. We didn't know what they were, but very quickly you start to understand. The reality is, in this country particularly, some people are exposed to these traumatic environments from birth. And we think it's normal, and we're extremely desensitized. So it's not the right approach to then point the finger and say, well, what's wrong with you? Because if you had to live and see the world the way that we've had to see it growing up, you would think very differently about violence as well. And it's about that desensitization, and there comes that light bulb moment when you start to understand as you grow up that actually we've all been traumatized. And the things that we saw and experienced are not normal things to go through. And the majority of people, thankfully, in society will never have to experience them. But until you've been 14 and you've already lost 5 of your friends to violent crime, and a lot of your friends are already in prison, and most of your friends have been kicked out of school, and you don't see any opportunity in your derelict housing estate that's been crumbling but now has been earmarked for regeneration, and now there's all these new people coming in to live in these shiny new buildings, but you have to get shipped out of London and live in Luton. Like, until you start inhabiting those environments, I think then it will become clearer as to why young people feel that violence has a potency. It resonates with them. And I'm not saying that it's right. I'm just saying for us to address it, for everyone to play a role in that, there has to be a deeper level of understanding. And it's not so foreign. It's not so distant. I think that most people that understand a little bit about experiencing something that may have caused you to feel shame, may have caused you to feel scared or fear for your own safety at any point in your life, you can start to understand how you would feel if every single day of your life was governed by that level of fear and anxiety. And actually, if you had to make all your decisions when you're in a constant state of fight or flight, then you would react very differently.
You spoke about a constant state of fight or flight. Obviously, I got diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, obviously after my experience, and severe anxiety, severe depression. These are all things that affect me. I was working 5 days a week. All these things, I'm not currently working at the moment because I don't really know how to react to being attacked by undercover police officers. It could happen at any time, basically. And where don't have a balaclava on my face. Obviously I need to be careful because obviously I still live in an environment where I'm accessible, and it's easy to put that I'm involved in recent shootings on the borough. It's easy to try and tie me to habitual knife carrying gang members just by postcode, even though my childhood, my associates, my intelligence, everything doesn't link me to that type of life, but obviously the melanin in my skin obviously links me to that type of life. And again, obviously understanding some of these cues, these behavior cues that we do have I think is key as well, because moving forward, there are things that are going to have to be dealt with, because sweeping it under the rug or trying to mute drill music and take away our voice again, it's only going to result in something probably more catastrophic. So I think people need to deal with the issue. And it starts in school. So another charity I work with, No More Exclusions, is composed of professionals, ex-teachers.
It's not a charity.
Well, I'm volunteering, so you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's massively important that the resources and the people that are in that group, you try to get in contact with them, because it's all people with lived experience, young people, teachers, parents, adults, all people who are trying to make a change and have deeper knowledge into obviously what's going on. And I feel like everyone needs to come together and just try and make a change, because it does affect your outlook on life. And me personally, I'm a comedian and you know, I'm a gamer. I haven't played my PlayStation in a year. I don't really like telling jokes no more. So, you know, I'm just trying to deal with the issue, and hopefully something can be done soon about it.
Thank you.
See, I've been stabbed as well. Well, he's not been stabbed, I don't know any, but obviously I've been stabbed. Going on to like your question, what you said, obviously my mum used to say, oh, back in the day there would just be fights and that, you just get a real good knockout, you don't get no stabbings and that, fags £3 and that, waffling, going on, cool. So obviously times changed. Obviously I went to prison. I was in prison for 6 months. Me and my friend that I've only known from there, he died like what, probably like a couple weeks ago. Yeah, he did that stuff. But obviously he got stabbed, and it's like it's much more than obviously gang violence, isn't it? Obviously everyone that you think think's gang violent and got problems with each other, they once upon a time we were all friends, you get what I'm saying? So like, don't think, oh, it just happens for no reason. There is people killing civilians and doing whatnot, and then there's people that's, I don't know, some personal issue, someone's got stabbed and then I've gone to stab the other person or things like that, you get what I'm saying? So don't let, social media make you think, bro, like, yeah, there's just people out here killing people for no reasons, you get what I'm saying? Well, that's what I've got to say, anyway, thank you.
Thank you so much. Could you answer about getting your music out there to that second question, and then we'll take some more.
If you, after, when you're finished, that man right behind you with the glasses on, his name's Corey Johnson. He's responsible for One Dance with Drake. He's responsible for a lot of the big hits that you hear in the UK. Just pass your details to that guy. You'll get heard, my guy. 100%. But Becky, you're not going to come. I'm going to answer that question, you know. Listen, you see that question you asked? It's very simple. It's the same question I said before. How many people in Leamington Spa and how many people in Shropshire are stabbing each other? Why? Because there's money there, my guy. You see, if you go to an area where there's no money, where a man's mom don't even know if there's bread on the table, you can't tell that man that he's not going to go out there and fight for that bread and bring home something for his mom. He's going to do whatever he needs to do. And that's not just the only scenario. It's a scenario of just money. And this, when I say money, I don't mean as in everyone's money hungry and they just want money, money, money. Is this what the kids are on? Money, money, money. It's the society that is feeding it to them. When they're seeing Made in Chelsea, what, you think people don't want to live like that? You think everybody wants to live in a council estate the whole life? You see, when people see Towie, you see them living this luxury life, and you're showing it to them every day and showing that kid you're a piece of shit. You think that kid don't want to live like that every single day? So of course, man's going to do what they need to do because mommy hasn't got it like that, to go make sure that my life isn't going to be like mommy's. And that's what it is. It's a perpetual thing where, say you was in school, someone slapped you, maybe, ooh, the big crowding around the kids, around in school. Everyone's getting excited because the fight's about to happen. That fight, after you two kiss and make up after that fight, you go about your business, he goes about his. Today, when that fight is getting done, guess what? When that guy punches you in your face, what happens? You're a meme the next day. You're on the internet the next day. You're going on I'm Just Bei. Well, 500,000 people have seen you get knocked out. What are you going to do to that guy the next day? You're going to just take it and just have it. The 500,000 people that, oh, you're that guy that got knocked out. I saw you yesterday, mate. What are you going to do? You're going to have to do something. Your whole reputation's on the line. Your whole family name's on the line. Your cousins are ringing you. How could you let that happen to the family? Because you know, that's get destroyed. There's so much pressure on a 13-year-old and a 14-year-old to live like a grown-ass man that no one can understand. You can't even understand the mental damage that it's doing. It's mental damage, but because of the scarring, because of the way it's portrayed, you're just seeing it from one angle. You can't see the 3D angle of it. So that's why you think that people are just stabbing endlessly. People are stabbing because they haven't got money. People are fighting wars over money and drugs and whatever it may be because they haven't got money, fam. If the government was helping, or if there was initiatives to build a future, or put somebody in a university scheme, or to help pay for some bills or something, or even pay for the monstrosities, something, then maybe things would be going different, but that's not what's happening, unfortunately. So all you're going to see is whatever the Daily Mail feeds you, whatever, I don't know, the Metro feeds you, whatever the mediums feed you that aren't living the same life as these people, aren't going through the same struggles as these people. Don't understand when the mum's sending off, I don't know, housing benefit or something, they don't send back the forms until it gets to the point the mum's getting evicted from the house. Then what? Well, you're telling me that the mum's looking at you with an open mouth, you're not going to go out there and try and get this money, cuz? You're going to go out there and try and get this money, because you're not going to let your mum suffer. That's exactly what it is, unfortunately, in Britain. There's no hope. Once they say on the universal credit line, sorry, we can't give you any funds, what are you going to do? You're going to sit there in the dark and cry with no electricity. You're going to go do something, cuz. That's unfortunately the way that the world is, and it shouldn't be like that, but that's the way it is. That's why we're all sitting in this room. How can we make a difference? What can we do?
One contribution from Zahra as well.
Just so really quickly, because it's a crucial thing to address. So, as teachers, and because I've taught in a Peru and so on, I've been in many places where we discuss, the causes, this question, what are the causes for this violence and why are the kids stabbing each other? And I couldn't put it better than what, has already been said. But I want to give you maybe an insight into things that I've been privy because of teaching in a Peru where, the young people are being sent to. And those are the lucky ones that get a place, because there's a long waiting list now. A lot of them are at home without being educated for weeks, for days, weeks, and sometimes years as well. We've got some young people that contact us, families, desperate parents, who say, my child was excluded in year 10, is now in year 10, in year 8, is now in year 10. These are violations of human rights of the greatest possible scale. I just want you to know. So when we are then at the other end talking about what can we do about youth violence, what did we do when we had a chance with that child? What did we do? Or not do. These are the type of things. So I guess the question is important, but people always want, the quick answer, the quick solution. They don't want to go to the root causes of the problem. And also another thing you can say is that schools can't solve everything. Schools are under pressure, teachers are under pressure. Not everyone is made of thick skin and can duck chairs for 11 years. I did it. But, a lot of teachers want an easier life than that, and I understand that. There's a very challenging stories and traumatic experience. For example, 2 of our young people, ex-students, one was actually shot in the eye and killed. This is the year before I left, so I'm talking about 2 years ago. And the news came, we all got it through the Facebook message the night before, the teachers and students. And the next day, it was business as usual. We were told by management, if they need some time out, let them have time out. But it was exam season. We were preparing them for GCSEs. Carry on. And these are the type of conditions that teachers are expected to work within, young people are expected to work within. It's business as usual. Is that human? What kind of society have we become, right? And I want to link it back to music. My son is 18. And he should really be on this panel, not me. But when I ask him about the music, and even when I speak to my students about it, and we had a band in school, you know, during lessons, no music, you can listen to maybe a Bei if you're good as a reward, right? Actually, music is therapeutic. You know, what do you do when your heart's been broken to pieces, you've just broken up with someone? You listen to sad music, don't you? And people say, why do you listen to that? It's going to make you more sad. Why do we do it? Why does the human spirit seek the very music that makes you feel worse for a time? Because it's expressing a need, right? So the need, like earlier, it's already been said, why the content? Why is the music? Why the emotions? I think it's the why we need to ask.
Thank you so much. I'm going to take another round of questions. Okay, I see a few hands. All right, if we could do 2 at the back. So this person wearing red sitting here, and then this person in the black.
And I also wanted to say, we're looking for a solution of the violence. I think you're the solution, and you clearly found the solution within yourselves in terms of how to cope with it, and also how to reach out to your peers, and so you're the solution in yourselves. But I wanted to ask particularly about the cuts that we've seen to local government over the last 9.5 years, in particular that around closing youth centres and youth facilities, closing libraries, and how that has affected young people in the areas that you come from. Have you seen, do you think that's been a significant factor in the ability for young people to access support and other projects?
Thank you, great question. Yes, yeah.
Hello, just to follow on from very similar question, but first of all, just want to say thanks so much. It's really, really inspiring to hear the 2 women that are leading this, and then all you guys who've come up here to share your personal testimony. I've been to lots of different talks about knife crime, and it's academics and people without lived experience, and it's been inspiring. But my question was about the fact that we have this Tory government at the moment that are leading, more police on the street, very right-wing measures to youth violence, and as you guys have said about the root causes, this is not at all how we're going to fix the problem. I basically just wondered, Sadiq Khan came out, I think it was earlier this year, saying there's now a direct correlation between austerity measures and poverty and the rise in youth violence in London, and I was just do you think, you have so much knowledge and you guys are leading the fight of addressing the root causes, are these things filtering down to you? Do you see the tide turning, or are we going to go right back into this right-wing approach away from early intervention?
Thank you.
Hi. I sort of work in mental health, and I worked with a lot of young men who have either sort of done violent crimes or been a victim of it. And often trauma is quite a big thing, especially being a victim of it. The effect it can have is really significant, and especially the people who have committed violent crimes, a lot of them have been just through absolute shit from a young age, and it's never been dealt with. No one stepped in to help them. And I was just wondering, is there much sort of mental health support that you guys access, and do you find it quite useful? And who are those people that you're speaking to? Because quite often, I know austerity is cut out a lot of services. I'm just wondering, what is available out there for you?
Thank you so much.
Hi everyone. Basically, Miss at the back with the red t-shirt on, I'd like to answer your question first. Basically, this is our sad reality, unfortunately. This is where we come from. We're not from upper class families. We come from lower class areas. When it comes to things like drill, because we don't come from nothing and we're seeing a couple of people blowing up. We're seeing them do well for themselves. We want to do well for ourselves. Do you know what I mean? Okay, maybe not all the lyrics in the song are the best, but do you know what? We all have aspirations and everyone makes mistakes. Do you know what I mean? We all make mistakes as we're younger. Bro, yeah, I'll be honest, I've been through so much, like, I'll be honest with you, it's traumatizing. We don't have all the facilities, miss at the back, all the cuts. Unfortunately, we don't have, like, too many people like Temi, like, that actually, like, bro, we come from nothing and we have people that actually care about us. This government does not care about us. How about this? If you told, cool, the lady or whoever, the MP that was meant to come today, they should come to our state for one day and put themselves in our shoes because they don't see the same things we see. Our friends are on the street getting killed, like, we're all traumatized. I've seen it. I've been like when I was in school, like yeah, you get the good teachers, like you get the teachers that actually really care about you, like that they've been and done and seen it. But you also get the teachers that are just like, you know what? If you want to help yourself, we don't really care about what background you come from. But if you want to help yourself, you can help yourself. If not, then you can go over that corner. We shouldn't have that. No, like, some of these teachers, they don't understand where we come from, so they don't, like, they'll see the file of the child and they'll just think, all right, cool, this is any ordinary case, we can just put it to the side. No, it's not that simple. Do you get it? It's not that simple. Everyone has their own different needs. And I think school plays a very big part in a child's life because, like Drillminister said, if it's not like basically, if teachers don't know how to deal with things correctly, then it could realistically ruin a child's life, because that's what happened to me. My side was never heard when I was a young 13-year-old boy. And now it's left me in a place in my life where I think, like why? Why did all these people never want to help me when I needed help? There was no one ever there. But do you know what? This is the reality that needs to be heard by the government and all the high officials. And I'll be honest, I feel like nothing will change until they see the reality that we are living, until they put themselves in our shoes. And
often, I think that when the conversation comes to cuts, a lot of people are very quick to say, okay, yeah, there's no youth centres. And that is extremely important. Generic youth provision is what all children need. But I think it trivialises it to a point and it's very surface level, ultimately. We need specialist youth provisions. When we're talking about young people that have been impacted by violence, they don't just need to sit around playing PS4 and playing pool table. Like, no, they actually need some support. And when you're talking about mental health provisions, it's very difficult as grassroots or community organisations to access support. Our options are usually really limited to, like, refer people on where they could be on an NHS waiting list for 2 years, but I have to work with them every day until that point. How do I, as a community, as a practitioner in the community, what do I do when I see this mental health crisis? We support so many young people who are suicidal, who are depressed, who have extremely high levels of anxiety, who probably would be diagnosed with PTSD if they could even get seen or get an appointment. But what do we do in the interim? And I think a lot in terms of solutions, something that we've been advocating for is that there needs to be more collaboration between mental health practitioners and services and grassroots community groups. That way we can capacity build ourselves, we can upskill ourselves. So I know, okay, these are some things I can do at crisis point. These are some things I can do, some techniques, or even some more collaboration, because it is very daunting for a young person if I say, okay, yeah, why don't you go to therapy and, you know, go to this random place and meet this random person? It's like, fuck off, like, no, I don't want to do it. So why don't you come to our state, we can organise a group, and then actually you could do some group counselling and group therapy in the environment where they feel safe. There are so many options, but actually I think we already know that NHS has gone to crap, really, hasn't it? And a lot of the time, it is to do with the cut. So we see that these have a knock-on effect on every aspect of a child's life, from the housing waiting list to the schooling waiting list to the mental health and other health service waiting list. Everything is like people's lives are on pause. And I think trying to articulate what it's like to live in an environment where it's just very bleak, because actually, and I say this talking about our estate in particular, that has been being redeveloped for about 15 years, and we've just been told it's not going to be finished for another 20 years. How many generations is that have nothing? I can't even remember when the youth club actually did close, but it was a long time ago. And actually what we have is a load of abandoned buildings. The library was closed, even the GP is getting closed, all of the services that people rely on being closed, but we're sitting as a community group with no space, trying to fight with the council to access one of the abandoned buildings so that we can deliver our workshops and services there. And it actually took us 3 years to get a lease for an abandoned, derelict building that they then tried to charge us £10,000 a year to rent. Like, it's rude, to be honest. Well, we got there in the end, but I think there are so many other organisations that are trying to do similar things, and it's very difficult. You're fighting with local government all the time when actually, like you've said, I think they do know where the solutions are, and they know what they can and what they can't do, but uplift others that can do something. Not everybody, and I say this with the best intention, especially in a room like this, not everybody is going to play the same role in this fight, and that's okay. We don't all need to play the same role. A lot of people want to come and they want to work on the front line. There's something like glamorous about it. Let me tell you, there's nothing glamorous about supporting people when it's devastating most of the time. It's draining. It can be extremely fulfilling, don't get me wrong, but not everybody's supposed to do that work, and a lot of people want to do it for their own ego, not because you have to play that role. There's a lot of other roles that you can play with the opportunities that you have, with the networks that you have, with the life that you have seen that others haven't, so we can bridge the gaps and we can form connections. You don't have to be the youth worker, and that's okay.
Obviously, you spoke about youth centres, and I don't feel like what Timmy said, there's enough provisions in youth centres. Obviously, I saw a video that came out last week of someone getting stabbed in a youth centre. I think in the last couple of weeks, 2 people have been stabbed in youth centres. So again, the issues in different spaces, and I feel like it's just trying to be passed on to what might have worked before. In terms of being like desensitized and having a light bulb moment and feeling things from the ground up, I definitely did. It was the concrete, actually, that was my light bulb moment, and I don't think it's being spoken enough about police's contribution on people. Like the way that someone in Westminster, central London, will get policed in comparison to me being policed in Kilburn is completely different. It's a different approach. There's different principles that don't have to be met when you're from an underprivileged background. And the unfair thing about it is you can't fight the police, or I can, but it's very draining, and it takes a lot out of you, and the probability of a win is very low anyway. But I'm hard of hearing, so I'm going to carry on doing what I'm doing, because hidden disabilities are real things, and mental health is a real thing. And personally, I deal with mine writing poetry, writing music. Obviously, I don't write drill music because I'm not a driller. I'm conscious, so I write about things that have affected me in my life, and certain other things. So this is some spoken word that I done on a podcast that I done on The Guardian. I don't know where it came from, but I'm just going to do it today. I embrace my brother on selling drugs as something socially explicit. We're amongst ourselves but seen as gangs, and the police want to come and visit. I'm stuck in a pivot, the gangs of the system. Stop and search ain't the answer. Instead, get me embellished in something to follow up after. I'm stressed and bewildered, my thoughts can't be filtered. I'm talking to masses, I hope I'm received well. I want you to notice the slightest of details. I can talk like a hoodie, make man understand. One thing you should know, this was part of my plan. To educate man on a part of a gang. The attack, it was brutal but gave me exposure. Won't react like a rebel, I'm wiser and older. How could you judge all this weight on my shoulders and claim that you came for a lawful proposal? I do not act here, I am antisocial, not by intention but by dysregulation. Special educational needs was a part of my placement. I was left and neglected and never accepted. Fast money was tempting by epic progression. Mindfulness, how to beat a recession. How to not be a victim of misrepresentation and not being handcuffed and taken to stations. The feds are my pagans, not men that I grow with and used to play games with. I'm down and deflated, but one thing I'm saying, our reality is changing. I hope I inspired the hundreds of masses and all get together and all start to pattern. I took every insult and always stayed humble, just to make sure I avoided the trouble. Came and gave fuck all I got was handcuffs, not knuckles. I was clearly distressed. How can you say you was under duress? I'm angry, quite frankly. Instead of embracing me, you tried to harass and chastise me. One thing I hate is a fed that is grimy, whereas the card you're supposed to provide me. I grew up in the 90s. I am part of no urban society. I'm shunned and neglected. Adversity brings out my best bits. I just needed the leverage. Approached unlawfully, now you made me relentless. Good thing I'm seeking justice, not vengeance. Please don't speak about intervention, prevention, when police and their bias leads to wrongful detentions. It's out of the question that they're here for protection. I think that they're here for a message that's received but not intercepted. I'm alive and well and I'm counting my blessings.
All right, about 5 of those a morning.
Just really quickly, I wanted to say, following on from that amazing piece, there is a Labour call for increased policing, and I just wanted us to think about that in the context of this conference, because actually, we are not asking for that. We are not asking for that.
I wouldn't say you need more policing, because what's more policing gonna do? It's just gonna get more people like myself more angry. Like, they're not doing nothing. It's not like there's I don't know, forefront every corner of every road in London, you get what I'm saying? You need more people like Temi, people that know what goes on and try to help you, rather than like people that don't know like my probation, that try to just send me back to jail and things like that. Temi, she understands, and here's where I'm coming from. Other people that, if you've not grew up in an environment, or I don't know, you're just like on the borderlands of the environment, it doesn't really you're not really around it as much. But because I've grew up in the environment and seen things like that, you need more people like Temi, because they just help you around and that. I'm saying so.
Thank you so much. I'm afraid I don't think that we have time to do the third round of questions, and my apologies for that, but there's a lot, it's a full panel, and they're full of knowledge and experiences, so we wanted them to answer the questions really fully. Not a little bit. There was mental health, people discuss mental health. I think, hopefully, I don't know if we're allowed to stay in this venue past 4:30, but hopefully even if we go outside, you'll be able to speak, to talk to our speakers a little bit more. I would just like to thank everybody for sitting in this quite hot and dark room for such a long time with these kind of weighty discussions, but I would just like to have another round of applause for this panel. Great.